No Time to Die is a 2021 spy film and the 25th film in the James Bond series, produced by Eon Productions, starring Daniel Craig in his fifth and final portrayal of the fictional British MI6 agent, James Bond. It was directed by Kari Joy Fukunaga from the screenplay by Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, Fukunaga and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Léa Seydoux, Ben Whishaw, Naomie Harris, Jeffrey Wright, Christoph Waltz, Rory Kinnear and Ray Fiennes reprised their roles from the previous films, with Rami Malek, Lashana, Lynch and Ana de Armas also starring. In No Time to Die, Bond has left active service with MI6 and is recruited by the CIA to find a kidnapped scientist, which leads to a showdown with a powerful adversary. Development began in 2016. It is the first Bond film distributed by Universal Pictures, which acquired international distribution rights following the expiration of Sony Pictures' contract after the release of Spectre in 2015. United Artists Releasing hold the rights for North America, as well as the worldwide digital and television rights. Universal also holds the worldwide rights for the physical home media. Danny Boyle was originally attached to direct and co-write the screenplay with John Hodge. Both left in August of 2018 due to creative differences, and Fukunaga was announced as Boyle's replacement 1 month later. Most of the cast had signed on in April 2019. Principal photography took place from April to October 2019. Billie Eilish performed the theme song No Time to Die, while Hans Zimmer scored the film. After being delayed by Boyle's departure and later by the COVID-19 pandemic, No Time to Die premiered globally at the Royal Albert Hall in London on the 28th of September 2021. It was later released in cinemas on the 30th of September 2021 in the United Kingdom and on the 8th of October 2021 in the United States. The film received positive reviews and grossed over $774 million worldwide, making it the fourth highest-grossing film of 2021. In addition to this, it earned several box office record achievements, including becoming the third highest-grossing film of all time in the United Kingdom. The film was nominated for 3 Academy Awards at the 94th Academy Awards, winning Best Original Song, and received numerous other accolades. The cast includes Daniel Craig as James Bond, a former MI6 agent who is known as 007 during his service and has been retired for 5 years at the start of the film. Director Kari Jojo Fukunaga compared Bond to a wounded animal and described his state of mind as struggling to deal with his role as a 00 agent. The world's changed. The rules of engagement aren't what they used to be. The rules of espionage are darker in this era of asymmetric warfare. Craig stated that the film is about relationships and family. Léa Seydoux as Dr. Madeleine Swan, a psychotherapist, daughter of Mr. White and Bond's love interest, who has assisted him in the mission in the film Spectre. Fukunaga underscored Madeleine's importance to the film, as her presence allowed him to explore Bond's unresolved trauma stemming from the death of Vesper Lynd in Casino Royale. After seeing the film, Seydoux said, "There's a lot of emotion in this Bond. It's very moving. I bet you're going to cry. When I watched it, I cried, which is weird because I'm in it." Rami Malek as Lucifer as Safin, the facially disfigured terrorist and scientist on the revenge mission against Spectre, who later becomes Bond's adversary. Producer Barbara Broccoli described the character as one of the most really gets under Bond's skin. He's a nasty piece of work. Malek described the character as someone who considers himself a hero, almost in the same way that Bond is a hero. Fukunaga described Safan as more dangerous than anyone Bond has ever encountered, and a hyper-intelligent and worthy adversary. Lashana Lynch as Naomie, the new 00 agent who's entered active service sometime after Bond's retirement and was assigned the 007 number. Lynch hoped that her character would bring a new layer of retailability to the world of espionage, saying, "When you're dealing with a franchise that has been so slick for so many years, I wanted to throw a human spin on it, to deal with the anxiety to be someone who's figuring it out, completely on her toes." Ray Fiennes as Gareth Mallory, or M, head of the MI6 and Bond's superior officer. Ben Whishaw as Q, MI6's quartermaster, who outfits 00 agents with equipment for use in the field. Q is revealed to be gay when Moneypenny and Bond interrupt him planning a dinner date with another man. Whishaw considers this version of Q to have ended, saying, "I think I'm done now. I've done 3, and that was what I was contracted to do, so I think that might be it for me." Naomie Harris as Eve Moneypenny, M's secretary and Bond's ally. Harris says since Spectre, Moneypenny has grown up somewhat. "I think she still has her soft spot for Bond, though, and that's never going to go, but she's an independent woman with her own life." Jeffrey Wright as Felix Leiter, Bond's friend and CIA field officer. Wright was asked what can be expected from Felix in the film, to which he replied, "Well, I think it's known that Felix pulls James back into the game, and away we go from there." While Wright was surprised he was not asked to return in Skyfall and Spectre, he felt Felix's return for No Time to Die gives more weight due to his prior absence. Wright said that the film establishes the brotherhood of Bond and Felix, which he described as the core of their relationship. Christoph Waltz as Ernst Stavro Blofeld, Bond's arch-enemy and foster brother. He's the founder and head of the criminal syndicate Spectre and is now in MI6 custody. Fukunaga explained why Blofeld returns and teased the character's new role in the film by saying Blofeld is an iconic character in all Bond films. He's in a prison, but he certainly can't be done yet, right? So what could he be doing from in there, and what nefarious sadistic things does he have planned for Bond and the rest of the world? And Ana de Armas as Paloma, a CIA agent assisting Bond. De Armas described her character as irresponsible and bubbly, playing a key role in Bond's mission. Now, there was a sense of sentimentality going into this film, knowing full well that this would be Daniel Craig's last outing in the most famous role. I must say, like many others, I was very skeptical when Daniel Craig was, of course, initially chosen to play James Bond in Casino Royale back in 2006, but he really did make the role his own. His physicality, his presence, and downright intensity brought a more serious tone to the James Bond character. He looked like he could fight, he looked like he could shoot a gun, he looked more physical and believable in the role. Now, nothing will live up to Casino Royale for me in terms of Daniel Craig's portrayal of the character, but No Time to Die is a good way for him to conclude his tenure in the iconic role. The film plays to the usual James Bond tropes in terms of that it's got action, drama, camp comedy, heartbreak, macabre horror, and an outrageously silly old-fashioned sort of bad guy. And of course it relies heavily on its fantastic sets and different exotic locations. But this is something you've come to expect in a James Bond movie. Gorgeous cinematography. It's almost as synonymous with the franchise as the intro music or the familiar catchphrases. In this film, though, we have a more fleshed out, mature Bond. Gone are the idea, of course, of him being able to charm every single woman he meets. Instead, here now we have a love story, and that Bond finds out later on that, of course, he's a father. This is definitely a 2021 take on the iconic character. The cast are on point and do exactly what they need to do, and the chemistry between Craig and Léa Seydoux is more than believable. I did, however, feel this was a waste of a talented actor like Rami Malek. Here he plays another one-dimensional, typical Bond baddie, and it really doesn't do much for me. My one real gripe with the film is its running length. At 163 minutes, it just feels a bit too long, and I feel they definitely could have edited down some things and got to the point a lot quicker. In saying that, though, this was meant to be a grand finale and a good farewell to Craig's version of James Bond, and I won't lie, the ending did leave me somewhat sad as we wave goodbye to Craig's Bond. This definitely felt a somewhat more somber excursion in the entire Bond series. One thing I did love, though, however, was references to the previous Bond films, and if you're a true Bond fan, then this film will really be one that you enjoy. If you, however, don't know the character too well and not so particularly fond of him, then this one will be probably one that you'd give a miss. All in all, Daniel Craig has done a fantastic job with the James Bond character and brought it into the modern century, in time that James Bond could have easily faded away as a dated, chauvinistic alcoholic who was from a bygone era. Instead, what they've done here is modernized this role, made it more serious, brought in other aspects to the character, and Daniel Craig has delivered it oh so well. Albeit overlong, this is definitely a grand finale and a fitting end to Daniel Craig's tenure as James Bond. No Time to Die gets a 7.5 out of 10.